I've got a lovely little side quest to take you all on. I've been gifted these. There's another one down here. Old school work planes. At the moment, they aren't brilliant. But I'm a firm believer if you look after it, it'll last a long time. They're not damaged in any way, they've just been sitting around rusting. And just generally being not looked after. So you can see at the bottom of that one, well, even the sides, and the handle's quite loose on that one. I'm going to do the bigger one first, just because it's going to be less fiddly. So, I'm going to start by taking them all apart. I've got a piece of wood here. I'll explain what this is. I'm going to use this as my sanding deck, because that is 25mm ply, and to my eye, it's pretty straight, pretty square across that face. So I'll be able to stick a piece of wet and dry to that side, and a piece of wet and dry to that side. So essentially, I'll have two sanding surfaces in order to get these faces shiny. I've soaked all these in oil for a couple of days.
There's a sorrow, but I don't know why. There's a sorrow under your blue sky. There's a sorrow in the corners of your mind, but I can't.
It didn't take too long to take everything apart, because like I said, I soaked all the screws that were visible with just some oil for a couple of days before I even attempted to take it apart, because I didn't want to risk snapping any of the parts. Here I'm just figuring out how to slide that bit across the papers to get it nice and flat. Had a quick little test of the grit grades on the papers, because there was some harsher papers in that pack and some lighter papers, and I always like to try and choose the least aggressive method first, just for efficiency and to get the best results. For some unknown reason to me, I decided to start by cleaning up the faces of the blade, not blade edge, just the first piece that I picked up, I guess. I did make the mistake of using oil on the wet and dry. I should have used water, like I am here. The oil pretty much just clogged up the paper, meaning that it just wasn't doing its job. So I cleaned off as much of the oil as I can and restarted again with water and moved on to the body of the plane. Nothing too fancy here on the inside of the body of the plane, just a tiny little bit of washing up liquid and a brush, a little bit of water, clean it up, degrease it, removes any oil. Getting in all the little fiddly bits with a cotton bud and just giving it a wipe down. This little piece here is I believe it's the tensioner for the blade. It sits just on top of the blade in the plane and just keeps pressure down on the very edge of the blade when it passes through the wood. It's a little bit tricky to do this because one of the edges there, just there, massive clump of rust, and the edge near that actually sits lower than the profile of the previous face, so it had to be cleaned up and polished in several stages. Making sure that the blade tensioner fits comfortably on the blade and there's no remaining pitting or corrosion between the two surfaces where it touches. I then went on to sharpen up the blade a little bit because there was a hell of a lot of pitting across the actual blade edge, as you can see just here in a minute. I did try to get as much of that off as I possibly can in order to get a sharper edge. I did get some more of that out, but it didn't come out 100%. I may revisit it another day. I then moved on to a sharpening stone with the blade, backwards and forwards like a crazy rocking fella. And then obviously just as standard, flip the block over. There's a different grade of sharpener on the other side of the block, so oiled it up, gave that a tickle. And then I went into my wood carving kit to get out the leather strop for, well, just making it sharp, even sharper, getting any little burrs off that may be left in the sharpening stone. together, just to make sure that it didn't have any pieces of grit stuck between any of the faces, and just to make sure that I got as much dirt off as I possibly could. Well, I wouldn't say that's too bad for a couple of hours, and my first go at cleaning up a plane, considering it was in the same condition as this one. This one will now actually work. This still doesn't work, but this one will work.